ଜଣଙ୍କର suppose ଇଚ୍ଛା ନଥିବ. Okay, so power refers to an individual or group's ability to influence, control, or shape the actions and behaviors of others, even against their will. Suppose someone, he or she is not willing to do something, but when we try to impose or pressurize her to do something that's what we want, that is called power. So we have the ability to influence upon her or his or her. So it is a fundamental concept for understanding the social dynamics or the inequalities. Okay, so this is the power which encompass the ability to act or produce an effect or control, authority or influence over others, encompassing both physical force and the capacity to influence or direct actions. Okay, so basically remember power is an ability to influence or control to someone else. Okay, so let's now talk about the conceptual or what are the concepts related to power. So first is power as influence. When we talk about influence, what is it? When we talk about power as influence, that means just a second, I have to give some examples. Okay. Okay. So when we talk about power as influence, that means it is often the capacity to influence, lead, or dominate others, or to have an impact on their actions and beliefs. Okay. So that is power when we talk about power as influence. ସେମିତି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହିବା power is resource, what does it mean? Power as a resource. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହିବା it is a resource, that means individuals or groups they can possess, exchange or accumulate. Say for example, rich and poor. rich ମାନଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଅଧିକା property and poor ତ ସେଇ କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ ଦେଖିବାକୁ ଗଲେ the individuals or groups who possesses more what the resources, so they have the power. And then power, when we talk about power in relational dynamic, ତା ଅର୍ଥ କ'ଣ? Sociologists sometimes they emphasize that power exists in relationships, not as an inherent attribute of individuals, and is a pervasive force in social interactions. ତ ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି ପାୱାର ବି ଏକ୍ଜିଷ୍ଟ କରୁଛି ରିଲେସନସିପ୍ସରେ. ଦେନ୍ ପାୱାରକୁ ଆମେ ଦେଖିପାରିବା ଆଉ କୋଉ କନସେପ୍ଟରେ ଆଜ୍ ଆନ୍ ଅଥରିଟି ଅର୍ କୋଅର୍ସନ୍. Authority means what? Authority is the legitimate power. Okay, the legitimate power which is accepted by those over whom it is exercised. ସେମିତି coercion, what is coercion? Coercion ହଉଛି it involves the use of force or threats. So that is power. These are the related terminologies which is attached, the terminologies which are related to power. Okay, let's now talk about the definitions. This is in page number 102. We'll be talking about how the Kozer, what he is talking about on power. Kozer, uh, basically he delineated two major traditions in the conceptualization of power. Okay, this is in the first paragraph of 102, page number 102. The two major traditions in the conceptualization of power. What does it mean? First is he's talking about power as domination or control. Okay, power as domination or control. So this tradition views power as the ability of one actor, because here we are talking about domination or control. So this is the ability of one actor or group to impose their will on another. ଆମ ମାନଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ability ଅଛି, ଆମ ability through ରୁ ଆମେ କ'ଣ ଅନ୍ୟ ଉପରେ କିଛି ପ୍ରେସରାଇଜ କରିପାରିବା ବା we are trying to impose something against their will. So this is domination or control. So it emphasizes coercion, hierarchy, and the suppression of alternative viewpoints. Uh, Coercion means forcefully doing something. Hierarchy is gradation. Society is suppose gradation, rich, poor, classless, society, laborer, then capitalist, etc., etc. The hierarchy. So this approach of Koser, that power as domination or power as control, this approach may be traced to Max Weber. Max Weber, this approach of Koser जो approach ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି कि power as domination, a approach टा related to Weber. Because Weber भी same କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि power is the chance that an individual in a social relationship can achieve his or her own will even against the resistance of others. Okay, so Weber भी same କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि power as domination or control, it is being said by Koser. ସେମିତି Weber ବି almost similar କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि power is a chance that an individual in a social relationship can achieve his or her own will even against the resistance of others. Okay, this was the first tradition of Koser. The second is he's talking about power as influence or capacity. When we talk about power as influence or capacity, basically this tradition focuses on the ability to affect outcomes. ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ କହୁଛେ influence, कि it influences something, ତା ଅର୍ଥ ଏହାର କ'ଣ impact ପଡ଼ିଲା on the other thing. So the ability to affect outcomes, mobilize resources, and shape events rather than solely through coercion. Okay, खाली forcefully कले हेबनी, rather than आमे देखिबा कि ता ऊपर impact कोन पड़िला, what is the outcome. Suppose आमे pressurize कले जणको किछि करिबा को, आमे pressurize कलाठो सीए केमति कोन कला, what is the result. So it emphasizes agency, persuasion, and the ability to act. This is the second tradition of Koser, that is power as influence or capacity. So a jo approach, the second one, power as influence, this approach may be traced to Talcott Parsons. Okay, Talcott Parsons, another sociologist. What he says power is something possessed by society as a whole. Power is something possessed by the society as a whole. Because if you remember in the last class, I taught you that Parsons, he basically is talking about the society as a system, okay, where he is focusing on the institutions, how the institutions play an important role to maintain order in the society. Okay, so as such, power is a generalized facility of resources in the society. It is the capacity to mobilize the resources of the society for the attainment of goals for which a general public commitment has been made. So here in this sense, the amount of power in society is measured by the degree to which collective goals are realized. I'll give you one example. काली जोटा मु कहितली कि AGIL model, okay, Talcott Parsons AGIL model, जो model रे A for adaptation, goal attainment, then integration, then latency. AGIL model through what he is trying to do is he is defining society as a system. Okay, how AGIL for example, A for adaptation, the economic institution, how economic institution is playing its important role in maintaining order in the society. Okay, so this is the thing. This is the approach by Talcott Parsons, which is related to Koser's the second tradition, which is power as influence or capacity. Okay, let's now talk about the third one. It's in the 102, page number 102, definition given by Girth and Mills. Okay, Girth and Mills, what they have talked about on power. First of all, meals. Okay, meals. We are talking about meals. Meals is talking about the power elite. First of all, what is elite? Elite refers to a small group of individuals who hold disproportionate power, privilege, and influence within a society, often dominating key institutions and decision making processes. Okay, they are the elites. They belong to a small group of individuals ଯାହାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ disproportionate power ଅଛି, privilege ଅଛି, then influence within a society. Society ରେ ତାଙ୍କର influence ଅଛି. Often they dominate the key institutions and the decision making processes. They are the elite. And when he is talking about Mills, see right Mills, when he is talking about power elite, basically what he says, power elites are those that occupy the dominant positions in the three pillar institutions of a dominant country. Gote country re ଗୋଟେ countryରେ ଆମର three pillar institutions କ'ଣ? What are the three pillars institutions in a dominant country? First is state security, second is economic, and third is political. Okay, so power elites are those who occupy the dominant position in these three pillar institutions of a dominant country. This is what Mills talking about. Next, Girth, Gerth. Okay, Girth. Girth, along with C. Wright Mills, they explored Weber's theories, Max Weber's theories on power. Max Weber's theories on power. Power theory ta kona? He is basically talking about power with relation to class, status, and party. Okay, we will be discussing it a little later. So first, Girth and C. Wright Mills, they explored Weber's theories on power, particularly in relation to class, status, and party. They emphasize the importance of understanding these concepts for analyzing social structure and power dynamics. Okay, ତାଙ୍କର importance ହଉଛି basically they are giving emphasis on the importance of understanding this concept class status party. Okay, society ର or social structure ଟା କ'ଣ, what is power dynamics ତାକୁ ବୁଝିବାକୁ ହେଲେ ଆମକୁ ନେବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ କ'ଣ ନା class status and party. Okay, so Girth and Mills, what is their contribution? What did they do? They translated and edited Weber's key sociological works, including from Max Weber and Essays in Sociology. This is an edited volume. From Max Weber, Essays in Sociology. So, Girth and Mills, they have translated and edited Weber's this major book, which became a foundational text for understanding Weber's ideas on power and social stratification. Okay, Weber's main idea on power and social stratification, এটা ଆମେ କୋଉଠୁ ପାଇବା? From Max Weber Essays in Sociology, which is translated by Girth and Mills. So let's now talk about what they emphasize. Girth and Mills, they are talking about Weber's concept of power. So let's talk about what is Weber's concept of power. What is class status party? So Weber, he defines power as the probability that one actor within a social relationship will be in a position to carry out his own will despite resistance. Okay, I repeat, Weber defines power as the probability that one actor within a social relationship will be in a position to carry out his own will despite resistance. You will understand this definition through class status and party. जोटा कि Girth and Mills ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ highlight କରୁଛନ୍ତି कि the interconnectedness of these concepts in shaping social power. Interconnectedness of these three things which Weber has talked about. सो वुमेनकर को कॉन्सेप्ट क्लास स्टेटस एंड पार्टी तांको भितर जो इंटरकनेक्टेडनेस सी केमिति शेप करूची सोशल पावर को सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल व्हाट इज क्लास sorry class class refers to people's relationship to the means of production particularly in the concept of market and their life chances. Life chances means what? Opportunities for income or goods. So class refers to the people's relationship to the means of production. Ammanakar relationship to the means of production. को way रे आमे production करोचे. Okay? सेई जो relationship टा मनुष्यर relationship with the means of production is called class. जोटा कि in the context of market or life chance or the opportunities. Okay, this is class. Next is status. What is status? Status means the social honor or the prestige. Status कहले कौन बुझाए? But suppose we are assigned a role. On the basis of our status, we have been allotted our role. Okay, so being a teacher, I have to teacher is my status, and what is the role do I need to perform? I have to take the classes. Okay, so the status is the teacher. So it deals with the social honor or the prestige. Often it is based on lifestyle, consumption patterns, and membership in social groups. This is status, which is according to Weber. Then, what is party? Party represents the political organizations which seek to influence power through collective action and participation in the political process. पार्टी कौन पार्टी कहले पॉलिटिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को बुझाए जहाँ जो माने कि से माने चाहती कि आम पाखे पावर था पावर थिले से माने कौन करिवे कहा ऊपर तांकर they have to pressurize okay so they have to influence so the political organization which seeks to influence power through collective action and participation in the political process. So this is party, class, status and party by Max Weber. So it Girth and Mills, they emphasized that understanding these concepts, class, status and party, these concepts is crucial to analyze social structure, power dynamics and social change. ଆମେ ଯଦି societyର structure, what is the power dynamics and what is social change ଏଇଟା ଯଦି ଆମେ ବୁଝିବାକୁ analyze କରିବାକୁ ହେଲେ ଆମକୁ first ବୁଝିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ what is class and what is status and what is party. Okay, uh, this is about whose not Kojak, the Girth and Mills explanation. Okay, let's now talk about Dennis Wrong. This is also in page number 102. Why I am focusing on this? Because they are very important here in this section, in this unit. Okay, so Dennis Wrong, you have to read his whole long definition. Basically, I am giving you the theme, what he's saying. Dennis Wrong, basically, he talks about power which is uh, not an asymmetrical except in cases of physical violence. So it distinguishes power from control and potential from possible powers. Okay, this is by Dennis Wrong. Let's now talk about what is the distinction or let's distinguish power from its related concepts. First is power and authority. Okay, so what is power and what is authority? So power refers to, as we know, the ability to influence or control others. Simply authority कहले authority होची the legitimate right to give commands or to make decisions. Often it is often derived from a formal position or societal acceptance. Okay, this is the distinction between power and authority. Authority has the power to make decision and to give commands. Okay, so this is basically authority is derived from a formal position. Okay, so what is the difference between power and authority? First is in power, jota ki, it can be exercised without being legitimate. Okay, without being legitimate. But Authority is always based on a perceived right to command, because here we already talked about authority jota ki formal position through asuchi. The power ta kon hoje? Power asuchi, it is exercised without being legitimate. Ethi kichi um, while authority is always based on a perceived right to command. Okay, so when we talk about this is the part of legitimacy. Okay, legitimacy, in terms of legitimacy, how power and authority, they both differ from each other. Let's now talk about in terms of influence. যেତେବେଳେ আমি influence কথা কହୁଛେ, what is power? Power is about influencing others. Okay, and authority is, it is about having the right to make decisions and enforce them. The right to make decisions and enforce them, because we are talking about authority which is being assigned formally. So, and what is in terms of acceptance? Authority relies on the acceptance of subordinates, while power can be exerted through coercion or force. Okay, this is the one more distinction about power and authority. And power is necessary for authority, but authority is not always necessary for power. Okay, so this is the concepts how power and authority is distinguished from each other. Okay, so let's now talk about it's in page number 103. Sorry, power and prestige. When we talk about power and prestige, so in the context of social structure, okay, social structure, power refers to the ability to influence or control others, while prestige is what? It signifies the respect and admiration. Prestige signifies the respect or admiration someone receives due to their social standing or achievements. Okay, so someone is getting rewards. Why? Because this is the social on the basis of his social standing or his achievement. So you are getting a plus grade. Why? So it's, you receive it, your grade, due to your achievement. You have put your lot of effort to get a plus. Okay, so ଯେତେବେଳେ a plus ମିଳୁଛି, then it signifies how much you are getting lot of respect, admiration from your teachers. So this is prestige. Okay, so power dynamics are often hierarchical, with some individuals and or groups wielding more influence than others. And when we talk about prestige, prestige can be a powerful tool for social influence, and it can shape how individuals are perceived and treated within a society. Okay, so however, power and prestige, they are not always directly proportional, as someone can be influential without necessarily being admired, or vice versa. I'll here give you an example. A powerful politician might have high prestige, but a highly respected community leader might have considerable influence without formal power. ओके, जड़े पावरफुल पॉलिटिशियन तांका पाखरे प्रेस्टीज अच्छी, बट ए हाईली रेस्पेक्टेड कम्युनिटी लीडर, जड़े कम्युनिटी लीडर को भी दे हैव कंसिडरेबल इन्फ्लुएंस विदाउट फॉर्मल पावर, दो फॉर्मली तांकर किछि सेमिति पावर नाही, फॉर्मली ही इज नॉट असाइन्ड कि आंको पाखरे एतिकी पावर, स्टिल he has because due to prestige. Okay, so this is power and prestige. Let's now talk about power and influence. Power and influence, जदि आम पावर कथा इन्फ्लुएंस कथा कहचे, इन्फ्लुएंस होची कोन? The ability to affect the behavior or the decision through persuasion and relationship. Okay, so power रो focus होची control or authority or coercion, जोठी कि influence रो focus होची influence रो focus होची relationship or collaboration. Okay, so power रो outcome कोन होची? जेतेबेले pressurize करा जाउची power, then outcome होची compliance or obedience. सेमती इन्फ्लुएंस रो आउटकम होची कमिटमेंट, ओके, कोऑपरेशन एक्सेट्रा. ओके, सो power ro jo effect hochi, what is the effect of power? It may lead to resentment. But what is the influence, effect of influence? That influence ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମ ଉପରେ କିଏ କିଛି impact ପକଉଛନ୍ତି କ'ଣ ହଉଛି, it may lead to respect or trust. Okay, so this is the difference between power and influence. Let's now talk about power and dominance. This is the fourth concept or fourth distinction, power and dominance. So power and dominance refers to the ability, ଯଦି ଆମେ social dynamics କଥା କହିବା ତାହେଲେ power and dominance, it refers to the ability to influence others and the tendency to exert control. Okay, the tendency to exert control, that is dominance. With power often associated with access to resources and dominance with the desire to gain influence and control. Okay, so in some contexts, power and dominance can be used to oppress or marginalize certain groups, while in others they can be used to empower and uplift others. Okay, so these were the concepts related to power and how the power is related to, distinguished, the distinction between those concepts and power. Okay, let's now talk about the theoretical considerations, how the theorists they have talked about the concept of power. So first is Max Weber, his concept of power and domination. So Weber he has distinguished between power, power को से आउ कौन कहउछंती, mash, MACHT. Power as mash, it is the capacity to impose one's will, and domination को से कौन कहउछंती कि हर्षाफ्ट, HERRSCHAFT, हर्षाफ्ट. Okay, domination is herself, which is the probability that a command will be obeyed, focusing on the legitimate exercise of power through authority. So here ଯେତେବେଳେ ୱେବର ପାୱାର କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି ପାୱାର ହେଉଛି ଗୋଟେ ପସିବିଲିଟି ଅଫ୍ ଇମ୍ପୋଜିଂ ୱାନ୍ସ ୱିଲ୍. ଆମର ୱିଲ୍ ଆମେ ଇମ୍ପୋଜ କରୁଛୁ, ଆମ ନିଜ ଇଚ୍ଛାଟାକୁ ଆମେ ଇମ୍ପୋଜ କରୁଛୁ ଅନ୍ୟ ଉପରେ, ଯଦିଓ ସେ ରେଜିଷ୍ଟାନ୍ସ କରୁଛି, ସେ ଅପୋଜ, ଅନ୍ୟ ଜଣେ ସେ ଅପୋଜ କଲା ସତ୍ତ୍ୱେ ବି ଆମେ ଯଦି ତା ଉପରେ ଆମର ପାୱାରଟା impose koriba, that is power according to Weber. Okay, so it's a broad concept encompassing various ways individuals or groups can exert influence regardless of the basis of that particular influence. Okay, so then domination upare second कहउचंती कि domination is herself. Weber narrowed the concept of power to focus on domination. Domination को से कौन कहउचंती कि the probability that a command will be obeyed. It's a probability कि जो command दिया गला ताकू हमें मानिबा. Okay, it's a probability, not exactly exact नुहे कि हमें न भी मानि पारू ना. The probability that a command will be obeyed. So this emphasizes the ability to command and have that command followed, suggesting a specific type of power relationship. Okay, so Weber here, just a sec. Weber, he is also talking about here the types of authority, where he is basically talking about the three types of authority. These are the legitimate authority. What are the three ideal types of legitimate authority according to Weber? So first is traditional authority. Traditional authority is basically based on the sanctity of age-old rules and traditions. That is, this is traditional authority. Then charismatic authority. Charismatic authority is based on the extraordinary qualities of an individual leader. Say for example, Mahatma Gandhi. ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ କିଛି extraordinary qualities ଅଛି, ସେ ପାଇଁ ତ ଆମେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ମାନୁଛେ as a freedom fighter. So it often perceived as having a special gift or vision. Okay, this is charismatic. He has some charisma. So this is charismatic authority. And the third is rational legal authority, which is based on a belief in the legitimacy of rules and procedures. It is often found in bureaucratic system. Okay, rationality. Okay, so What is the relationship between power and domination according to Weber? So Weber ଏଠି କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି domination होची गोटे अलग टाइप स्पेसिफिक टाइप ऑफ पावर जहार फोकस होची probability of obedience rather than the broader capacity to influence. Okay, so ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ bureaucracy କଥା कहउचंती वेबर से कौन कहउचंती कि bureaucracy is a key instrument of rational legal authority. Okay, it's a key instrument of rational legal authority जोटा कि giving emphasis on the rules, procedures and hierarchical structures. Okay, so this is power and domination by Max Weber. Let's now talk about Karl Marx concept of class and power. This is in page number 105. Sorry. So Karl Marx, his theory of class and power, it posits that society is divided into two main classes. If you remember, Karl Marx ତାଙ୍କର historical materialism रे कहउचंती कि historical materialism it is about history or it is about the society, the types of society. History कहले कौन बुझाए? History माने we are talking about the society, and materialism means we are talking about the means of production. ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ ହିଷ୍ଟ୍ରି କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି he is basically giving the types of society ଆଉ ସେଇ ଯୋଉ different different types of society, feudal society, agrarian society, etc etc, capitalist society. तो सेई सब society रे what were the means of production, our means of on the basis of means of production what is the relations of production. Okay, means of production को नहीं नेला परे each society रे को type रो class structure ହେଇଛି. Okay, so Karl Marx, his theory of class and power posits that society is divided into two main classes: the bourgeois, or the owners of the means of production, and the proletariat. They are the workers who sell their labor. Okay, and the bourgeois basically they exploit the proletariat for profit. ये जो surplus आमे कहूचे, the surplus value goes to the capitalists. Okay, or the bourgeois class. The bourgeois they are called the capitalists. So it leads to inevitable class struggle and potential revolution. Main theme होची कोन कि दुई टाइप ऑफ क्लास अछि आ जो क्लास रे जणे अन्य जण को ऊपर प्रेशर पकोची पावर या डोमिनेट करी रखुची एंड कोन होची रिजल्ट कोन होची क्लास स्ट्रगल और पोटेंशियल रिवोल्यूशन. Okay, this is the theme of Karl Marx on class and power. So what is the core of his class structure? Core hela area ki we have bourgeois and proletariat, and bourgeois they own the means of production and proletariat hochanti who sell their labor. They do not own any means of production, and ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହୁଛେ surplus value କଥା, surplus value which goes to the capitalist or the bourgeois. Bourgeois କଣ କରନ୍ତି? They exploit the proletariat by paying them less than the value they create through their labor, generating surplus value that the bourgeois uh, pocket as profit. I'll give you one example here. This exploitation is seen as the engine of capitalist inequality and conflict. Is exploitation and surplus value. So what is surplus value? I'll give you a very small example. Suppose in a pencil factory, okay? What a pencil factory actually. So a factory रे we have the laborer. They have to work from 10 to 5. Okay, in 10 to 5 in the 6 hours they have to produce 10 pencil every day. Okay, suppose capitalist or the owner one day he will say, okay, you take 2 more hours like 10 to 5 10 ରୁ 5ଟା କାମ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଆଉ 2 ଘଣ୍ଟା ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ନିଅ ତା ମାନେ 10ଟା ରୁ 7ଟା କାମ କର. Okay, so 6 plus 2 that is 8 hours. So laborer कौन करुच्ची तार 8 hours he is giving his 8 hours. Okay, जोटा कि which is beyond his necessary labor time. Please do remember beyond his, whenever you are writing your answer please do mention कि laborer is giving his time beyond his necessary labor time. Underline beyond his necessary labor time. ता अर्थ ताकू assign ହେଇଛି 6 hours देबो but extra 2 hours when he is giving power, he is giving 6 plus 2 8 hours, and in the 8 hours he is producing 10 plus 2 pencil, that is 12 pencil. 8 hours re 12 pencil produce kala. Okay, but तार सैलरी होची सपोज 500 रुपीज पर 5000 पर मंथ. ओके, बट एठी जो एक्स्ट्रा प्रोडक्शन कला, एक्स्ट्रा प्रोडक्शन जो है तार क्रेडिट गोज टू द कैपिटलिस्ट और द ओनर्स. आउ एक्स्ट्रा प्रोडक्शन कला पर भी कैपिटलिस्ट इज नाइदर गिविंग हिम एक्स्ट्रा सैलरी रे आउ किछि एक्स्ट्रा ऐड करू नांती, एक्स्ट्रा किछि दो नांती. एंड कैपिटलिस्ट आल्सो इज नॉट गिविंग हिम रिकॉग्निशन. से लेबर और ना रिकॉग्निशन पाउची ना किछि एक्स्ट्रा मनी भी पाउची against his necessary, by giving his necessary labor time. तांकर एक्स्ट्रा लेबर टाइम देला परे भी से किछि एक्स्ट्रा पाउ नांती ना रिकॉग्निशन किछि पाउ नांती, बट ओनली क्रेडिट गोज टू द कैपिटलिस्ट. सॉरी. तो दिस इज सरप्लस वैल्यू जोटा कि एक्स्ट्रा जो दुईटा पेंसिल प्रोडक्शन हैला सेटा होची सरप्लस वैल्यू. ओके, सो what is class struggle and revolution according to Karl Marx? In the class struggle, Karl Marx say कहउचंती कि inherent contradictions of capitalism including exploitation and economic crisis which would lead to increasing class struggle between bourgeois and proletariat. এই जो tension contradiction सबुबेले लागि रहइबो capitalist or bourgeois and proletariat भितरे, of course it will give rise to class struggle. ओके, सो रेवोल्यूशन हम से माने जेतेबेले लेबरर माने से माने क्लास दे आर स्टेइंग इन क्लास कॉन्शियसनेस, बट क्लास 4 इटसेल्फ हेबा को हेले जेतेबेले तांग मनरे कॉन्शियसनेस आसी जीवो से माने भाबिबे कि वी विल गो टू द क्लास 4 इटसेल्फ. क्लास 4 इटसेल्फ हेबा को हेले देन कोन हेबो से माने चाहिए केमिति रिवोल्यूशन हबो एंड दे विल थ्रो अवे द कैपिटलिस्ट. Okay, this is what class struggle is and revolution is. Okay, and Karl Marx also, he is talking about the role of the state, where he is talking about state as an instrument of the ruling class, because here we are talking about focusing on power only, class and power. The instrument of the ruling class is the state, the bourgeois, the ruling class. Okay, state is an instrument of the bourgeois, the ruling class, which is used to maintain its power and suppress the proletariat. Okay, and in a communist society, the state would wither away as class distinctions and the need for coercion disappear. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏଇ जो लेबरर माने proletariat gang ସେମାନେ revolution କରିବେ, ସେମାନେ ଚାହିଁବେ କ'ଣ कि कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास को टोटली थ्रो आउट करदेबे सोसाइटी रो. तो थ्रो आउट टोटली थ्रो आउट करदेले कौन हम आम सोसाइटी रो क्लास डिस्टिंक्शन हेबो एंड कोर्शन ए जो फोर्सफुल एक्शन ए सब आम क्लास सोसाइटी रो डिसअपियर हो जिवो, व्हिच इज लेटर ऑन थॉट ऑफ एज द यूटोपियन थिंकिंग. बिकॉज डू यू थिंक इज इट पॉसिबल कि सोसाइटी रो टोटली ए जो डिस्टिंक्शन क्लास बेस्ड डिस्टिंक्शन ये पड़ेबो कि रिच एंड पुअर सब बेले थिबे? तो केबे ए सिचुएशन टा हबनी. तो सेति पई परे तांकर थिंकिंग को कुआ जाय छि कि इट इज ए यूटोपियन थिंकिंग. दैट इज अनदर थिंग. So this was the role of the state, and what are the other key concepts related to power on the according to Karl Marx? So also hela concept kuda hela means of production. Joti means of production mane he is talking about the tools, resources, infrastructure which are used to produce goods and services in the factories or machinery. And what is labor power? Labor power means the capacity of the working class to labor and create value. And also surplus value I have already mentioned. And class consciousness, class conscious means ଯେତେବେଳେ ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଗୋଟେ awareness ଆସିଯିବ about their class position and the need for collective action to challenge the existing order. ତାଙ୍କୁ जो torture ହେଉଛି proletariat ମାନଙ୍କୁ bourgeois ମାନେ जो subordinate କରିକି ରଖୁଛନ୍ତି, ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେମାନେ ଚାହିଁବେ कि आमने भी आम क्लास रे आमर भी गोटे पोजीशन दरकार एंड कलेक्टिवली जेतेबेले सेमाने गोटे कोन बुर्जुआस मानकर तांको खिलाफ हेई जिबे, तांको अगेंस्ट रे हेई जिबे, देन तांको भितर गोटे अवेयरनेस आसी जिवो कि क्लास वी विल achieve the class position. Okay, this is class consciousness. And the last but not the least, Last concept is the dictatorship of the proletariat. Dictatorship of the proletariat कौन जितेबाला totally ए जो capitalist class पढ़ेबे society रो जितेबाला totally एमान को throw out करा ही जीवा सेतेबेले प्रोलेटेरिएट मैंने खाली रही जिवे तो प्रोलेटेरिएट मानक भितरे भी जने डिक्टेटरशिप बाहरिवे. This is the transitional phase after revolution where the working class holds political power to dismantle the old capitalist system and establish a socialist society. So these were the concepts of related to class and power, which is according to Karl Marx. Let's now talk about Robert Michaels. Robert Michaels, his iron law of oligarchy. What is it? Iron law of oligarchy. First is say Robert Michael ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ iron law of oligarchy କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି in the first decade of 20th century in his book Political Parties. So according to this theory, all forms of organization, regardless of how democratic or autocratic they may be in the beginning, will eventually and inevitably develop oligarchic tendencies. I will explain this. ये जो रॉबर्ट माइकेल बेसिकली से कौन कहते he is arguing that organizational oligarchy resulted most fundamentally from the imperative of modern organization, where he is talking about the competent leadership, centralized authority, and the division of tasks within a professional bureaucracy. So as an organization grows, it becomes increasingly complex and it requires a specialized division of labor. Okay, organization ଯେତେବେଳେ grow କରିବ basically ଏଠି situation very complex ହେଇଯିବ ଯୋଉଠି କି organization ର need କଣ ରହିବ କି it should have the specialized division of labor. Okay, specialized division of labor. So organizations survival necessitates the development of a leadership class that gains more power and control over time. It will lead to a concentration of authority and the formation of an oligarchy. I'll give you one example. Suppose in political party, uh, uh, in a political party, the party leaders, okay, who are initially chosen democratically, amass increasing power, making unilateral decisions rarely questioned by members. So, over time, the party becomes an oligarchy, which is oligarchy means what? Ruled by a small group of what's it? Powerful leaders. Okay, so this iron law of oligarchy can be dysfunctional. Also, it creates hurdles for entry of fresh talent in leadership. A iron law of oligarchy রইলে কোন হব এটা বি সোসাইটি ପାଇଁ dysfunctional হব because it creates hurdles for entry of fresh talent in leadership. A oligarchy, it also monopolizes power, which leads to corruption and erosion of democratic norms and processes. Okay, so this was Robert Michaels on iron law of oligarchy. Let's now talk about the last one. No, sorry, the second. This is not last. This is Stephen Luke's. Stephen Luke's power and human agency. We are running short of time. Stephen Lukes, basically, he is giving the three dimensions. His work, power and human agency. Okay, in his work, power, a radical review. Sorry, radical view. Power, a radical view. It is his book. Jyotireki, what is his argument? His argument is that power exists in three dimensions. Okay, what are the three dimensions? First is decision making, second is agenda setting, and the third is ideological. So these emphasize the importance of understanding how power operates not just through overt action but also through shaping preferences and beliefs. Okay, so Stephen Lukes, basically he is talking about the three dimensions of power. So first one is decision making. What is decision making? This is the first dimension. This is the most visible and traditional view of power. It focuses on the ability of individuals or groups to make decisions that affect others. It involves observable conflicts and the ability to influence outcomes through direct action. Okay, this is the first dimension, which is decision making power. The second dimension, according to Stephen Lukes, is the agenda setting power. What is it? This dimension expands the scope of power beyond direct decision making to include the ability to control what issues are discussed and what is considered legitimate. Basically, what it does, it highlights how power can be exercised by shaping the political agenda and limiting the range of acceptable opinions. Okay, and the next dimension, the third dimension, is the ideological power, where he is talking about uh, that power can be exerted by shaping people's values, beliefs, and desires. Okay, even to the point where they come to accept outcomes that are contrary to their own interests. So basically, here what he says, according to him, it means the power that is, it can be exercised by influencing people's very understanding of the world and their place in it. ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ନିଜର understanding about what, about the world. Okay, power can be exercised by influencing people's very understanding of the world and say world re what is their place. Okay, this is power. So ଏଇ ଯୋଉ third dimension ideological power ରେ ଲିଉକ୍ସ କଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି, ଷ୍ଟିଭେନ୍ ଲିଉକ୍ସ ସେ also ସେ ମଧ୍ୟ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି this third dimension is crucial for understanding how power operates in complex societies because ଆମେ ଦେଖିଥିଲେ ନା କି ଏଠି କଣ କହୁଥିଲେ କି power can be exercised by influencing people's understanding of the world. ସେ world ରେ ୱାର୍ଲଡର ଅର୍ଥ କଣ, ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଲୋକମାନେ ୱାର୍ଲଡକୁ କେମିତି ଭାବରେ ତାଙ୍କର ତା ଅର୍ଥ ହେଉଛି ପାୱାର କ୍ୟାନ୍ ବି ଏକ୍ସରସାଇଜ୍ ବାଇ ଇନଫ୍ଲୁଏନ୍ସିଂ ପିପଲ୍ସ ଭେରି ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଅଣ୍ଡରଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡିଂ ୱାର୍ଲଡ ବିଷୟରେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଅଣ୍ଡରଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡିଂ କ'ଣ ଏବଂ ସେଠି ତାଙ୍କର ପ୍ଲେସ୍ କ'ଣ ସେଇ ଉପରେ ଯୋଉ କୁହାଯାଉଛି। ତ ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି ଏଇ ଡାଇମେନସନ୍ ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ କ୍ରୁସିଆଲ ଫର୍ ଅଣ୍ଡରଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡିଂ ହାଉ ପାୱାର ଅପରେଟ୍ସ ଇନ୍ କମ୍ପ୍ଲେକ୍ସ ସୋସାଇଟିଜ୍। Okay, how power operates in the world where domination can be subtle and pervasive. So Luke also criticizes the first two dimensions for failing to account for the ways in which power can be exercised through the manipulation of beliefs and values. Okay, so this was Luke's understanding of power and human agency. Let's now talk about Anthony Giddens' power as dependency and domination. This is in page number 106. Power as dependency and domination. Giddens, Anthony Giddens, he conceptualizes power as a relational dynamic which involves both dependency and domination. Dependency money, where one party's actions are contingent on another, dependent. Okay, and domination is where one party has the ability to control the other. Okay, ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ dependent ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ they are dominant. Okay, one is dominant on the other. So he argues that power is not simply a tool of control but also an integral part of social structure and interactions. Power ଅର୍ଥ କହିଲେ ଗୋଟେ, it's not about controlling something, it is also an integral part of our social structure या फिर interaction raw also another part. This is not only about control but it's about the integral part of social structure and interaction. Okay, so এই जो dependency কথা କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि dependency रे he emphasizes that power relations are often based on dependency, where one actor's actions or outcomes are contingent on the actions or the resources of another. This dependency can arise from various sources. Go to economic, social or political structure ru a dependency ta asibo. And domination, while talking about domination, second କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि this domination can manifest in various forms such as political power, economic control or social influence. And Giddens ତାଙ୍କର another theory, structuration theory. In his structuration theory, जोटा कि which is very central to his understanding of power, it posits that sorry. It posits that social structures and human agency are not separate entities, but they are mutually constitutive. So, structures are not simply external uh, constraints, but they are also they enable uh, or they are the enablers of action, and agency is exercised within and through these structures. So, power କଥା ଯେତେବେଳେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସେ also ବି କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି power is a relational dynamic. Relational dynamic means basically he is talking about the relationships, the relational nature of power, arguing that it is not something that individual possesses, but something that is exercised in social interactions. Okay, so Giddens, he is also talking about power, resources, and power. जोटी से कहते कि power is often tied to the control of resources, whether they be material resources or allocative resources or resources that allow for influence over others, जोटी कि एठी कोन कहउछन्ती ठीक authoritative resources कथा कहउछन्ती. Okay, and while talking about signification and legitimation, Giddens say he links power to the creation and maintenance of maintaining. He links power to the creation and maintenance of meaning, means the signification, and establishment of norms and rules, that is legitimation. So these processes are crucial for understanding how power is exercised and legitimated in society. Okay, so this is Anthony Giddens' concept of power and power as dependency and domination. So let's now talk about the last thinker. He is Michael Foucault. Uh, his contribution is power. He talks about power as domination. Okay, so Foucault से कहते power is not simply domination. ता अर्थ कौन? से कहते power is not something that is possessed by individuals or institutions, but rather something that is exercised and operates through various social relations and practices. Okay, power जोटा कि आमे ताको exercise करू through social relations and practices. It is not only about individual or institution. खाली individual institution ऊपर कहले हबनी, rather it operates through social relations. Okay, he is also saying that power is productive. ता अर्थ कौन? Power is productive means it, instead of being solely repressive, Foucault says that power is also productive. It means it can create and shape subjects, knowledge, and social realities. And say कहउचंती कि there is the relationship between power and knowledge. जोटि कि knowledge is not neutral, but it is always produced and legitimized through power relations. So here also he is talking about discourse and social structure, where he examines like how power operates through discourse. Discourse माने कौन? The language, the speech, the writing. Okay, so how power operates through discourse and social structure. Social structure पहले कौन पूछा है? The institutions, norms, or the practices. So let's say I'll give you one example. Okay. এই ফকুଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ idea, um, his idea about the discipline and punish. এটা ଅଛି ଗୋଟେ କୋଉଠି ଏଇଠି, I'm not finding right now, but it's mentioned in this unit. Okay, so discipline and punish. In discipline and punish, Foucault basically he analyzes how disciplinary power operates in institutions. Like he's giving the examples of prisons, schools, and hospitals. How disciplinary power operates in institutions like prisons, schools, and hospitals, shaping individuals through surveillance, normalization, and self-regulation. Okay, this is the discipline and punish. And also in another his history of sexuality, Foucault say kon korchandi, he explores how sexuality has been constructed and regulated through discourses of truth, knowledge, and power. These are all related to the concept of power. And while talking about resistance, he acknowledges that power relations are always accompanied by resistance, as individuals and groups can challenge and contest power structures. Okay, so this is Foucault's idea on the concept of power. Let's now talk about the concept of elite, which is in page number 108. elite, the concept of elite, that is that means a small group of people who hold disproportionate power, privilege, and influence within a society. Okay, that is elite. It is often due to their wealth, status, or skills. Elite. So, when we talk about uh, power and influence, in terms of power and influence, elites often control key institutions and resources, which enables them to shape policies and decisions that affect society. Say, for example, elites can be found in various spheres. Which sphere? Including political sphere, economic sphere, cultural sphere, or social realms. ଯଦି sociological perspective रे ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା the concept of elite को, sociologists and political scientists, they have explored the concept of elites, where they are specifically examining their role, elites role in society and the dynamics of power and inequality. Okay, so ये जो elites, what are the types of elites? First is political elites, then economic elites. Political elites are who? The individuals who hold positions of power in government and political institutions. Then economic elites, those JK whose control is significant, those who control significant wealth and resources, often through business or finance. And cultural elites are those who are influential in the arts, media, or intellectual spheres. Okay, so this is about the concept of elite, where Wilfredo Pareto, it's also in page number 108. Okay, Pareto, where he's talking about his famous theory is the theory of circulation of elites, where he is giving the distinction between the fox and lion. While he's talking about the theory of circulation of elites, he's talking about fox and lions. Pareto, he is an Italian sociologist and economist. His theory says that society is characterized by a constant circulation of elites. So he categorized the elites into two main types, the lion and the fox. Okay. So his concept of lions and fox draw inspiration from Machiavelli's The Prince. So Machiavelli's work, The Prince, which emphasizes uh, the strategic and ruthless political leadership, which Pareto adapted. Pareto adapt କରୁଛନ୍ତି କାହାର? Machiavelliଙ୍କର work, The Prince. Pareto adopted by categorizing elites as lions. Lions को से elite कहउଛନ୍ତି କାହାକୁ? Lions को elite कहउଛନ୍ତି who use force like Machiavelli's ideal ruler, and uh, Pareto fox को कौन कहउଛନ୍ତି? Fox କହୁଛନ୍ତି Machiavellian cunning and political maneuvering, reflecting the enduring influence of Machiavelli's ideas on the understanding of elite dynamics. When he's talking about the elite dynamics, basically Pareto he's talking about the lion and the fox. Lion are the elites, and lion, they are generally a residue of persistence. They are more, they believe in gradual change in society. These lions, they don't believe in rapid change and transformation, as they emphasize on stability in society. So they are generally the carrier politicians, and lions, they maintain their position through physical force or coercion. They are often found in government or military or other institutions. And uh, Pareto, while talking about fox, he called fox as the residues of combination. What is it? They are very cunning and believe in the principle of maximum gain. Basically, they are speculative in nature, and they advocate for rapid change and transformation. They don't believe in the status quo. They easily mix up with people. So these folks are the elites who rely on manipulation, cunning, or intellectual skills to attain and maintain power. So they operate in areas such as politics, finance, and diplomacy, etc. Okay, so they both are essentially different from each other in theory, but in practice, uh, In practical scenario, they are not mutually exclusive. So, while the lions use force and aggression, the foxes are the cunning and manipulation. However, both are driven by the same desire for power and control. Okay, so the iron law of oligarchy and the differentiation between fox and lion in Pareto's theory, these both have significant implications for understanding modern power dynamics. So these concepts helps explain how organizations, governments, and societies are shaped by elite control and the interplay between the different types of individuals in positions of power. Okay, so then Mary Kolabinska. Mary Kolabinska, a student of Pareto, and who studied the circulation of elites in France. What he focuses on, uh, sorry, he, see. Her focus is on the dynamics of elite groups in France and especially the process of one elite group being placed by another. So her most notable work, La Circulation des Elites in France, or the circulation of elites in France, a historical study from the end of the 11th century to the Great Revolution. Okay, so then Gaetano Mosca, he is a prominent Italian political scientist. Uh, he argued that all societies except the most primitive are ruled by minority political class that justifies its power through political formulas and maintains its position by organizing and controlling the majority. Okay, so these are the ruling class, justification of power, circulation of elites, etc. These are the concepts. And while talking about power elites and veto groups, C. Wright Mills, his power elite theory contrasts with David Reisman's veto groups theory, with Mills arguing that power is concentrated in a small interconnected group of military, corporate, and political leaders, while Reisman suggests power is dispersed among various groups that can block actions against their interests. Okay, so C. Wright Mills, he says power in society is concentrated in the hands of a small group of individuals who occupy key positions in the military, corporate, or political spheres. Okay, so and David Reisman, veto groups, it proposed a more pluralistic view of power, which suggests that power is dispersed among numerous groups in society. Okay, so let's now talk about just a sec. This is the last section. Uh, Okay, power in local communities. While talking about power in local communities, that refers to the ability of individuals and groups within a community to influence decisions and resources which impact their lives and the places they live. And it is crucial aspect of society or the community's development and democratic ideals. So basically, it means the influence and decision making, community empowerment, democratic ideal, local knowledge and needs, etc., etc. So these were about the concept of class and theoretical issues related to the power. Okay, let's now talk about class and class and legitimacy. Class and legitimacy. Just a second. Whoever is texting, I can't see your messages right now. I can't read because we are running short of time. So I'm not able to read your messages. These are very small units. I'll be focusing on the concepts. Just a sec. So class and legitimacy, here we will be talking about uh, it explores how social hierarchies and power structures, particularly those based on class, that influence the perceived rightfulness and acceptance of authority, laws, and systems. So here, when we talk about class, class means it refers to a group of people who share similar economic positions, interests, and experiences within a society. এই যে class को আমি যদি মার্ক্সিয়ান পার্সপেক্টিভে দেখিবা তাহলে class is a fundamental aspect of society with the bourgeois or the owners of capital and the proletariat or the workers as the primary class in a capitalist system. Okay, and when we talk about legitimacy অর্থ ହେଉଛି the rightfulness and acceptance of an authority, law, or system by those who are governed. So there, if you remember, we are talking about already the types of legitimacy which given by Weber, the traditional legitimacy, charismatic legitimacy, and rational legal legitimacy. So when we talk about legitimacy and power, legitimacy is crucial for the effective exercise of power as it distinguishes between power that is imposed and authority that is voluntarily followed. And when we talk about class and legitimacy, here we talk about class conflict and legitimacy. That means class divisions can lead to challenges to legitimacy as groups with different interests may question the fairness and validity of existing systems. Okay, so when we talk about legitimacy as a tool of dominant class, dominant class, they may use various strategies including ideology and institutions to maintain their legitimacy and control. Okay, so then Karl Marx, this is in page number 115. Okay, class relation and change here. From Marxian perspective, class relation is defined by ownership and control of the means of production. These are the foundation of social change, which derives historical development through class struggle, and ultimately it leads to societal transformations. So already, as you already know, what is Karl Marx's view of class? Okay, Jotaki, he defined the two primary classes, the capitalist and the or the bourgeois class and the proletariat class, and these classes have fundamentally opposing interests, which leads to inherent conflict and struggle. Okay, so then capitalism, class relations, and development. When we talk about capitalism, class relations, and development. Capitalism is a system based on the private ownership and profit, inherently creates class relations. What are the class relations? The bourgeois and the proletariat, and it can lead to uneven development with some nations and groups benefiting more than others. It potentially leads to exploitation and conflict. So there comes the capitalist and the class relations, then the class structure, जोटा Marxian perspective the bourgeois and proletariat, etc. And when we talk about, just a sec. Yes, in authority, already I have mentioned what are the basis of legitimacy. These are traditional, rational, legal, and charismatic authority according to Weber. I have already explained. And what are the characteristics of bureaucracy? The rational legal basis of legitimacy as conceptualized by Max Weber, it is realized through bureaucracy, authority is derived from established laws. Okay, authority is derived from established laws, rules, and procedures rather than individual charisma or the tradition. Okay, and the key characteristics of bureaucracy, these are hierarchical structure, specialized role, formal rules and regulations, impersonality, etc., etc. So let's now talk about just a sec. Already legitimacy is over. Legitimacy and social cohesion. So here also in this unit there is mentioned some of the concepts like ascribed status in the box. You can see. So in sociology, ascribed means which is given by birth. Okay. Let's say for example the caste system.
Ascribed and achieved. These are the two status. Ascribed status in sociology is a social position or rank which is assigned to an individual at his birth or through circumstances beyond their control, unlike achieved status which is earned through effort or accomplishment. Let's say, for example, caste versus class, that is ascribed versus achieved. Class system, suppose someone is getting becoming rich day by day, so this is through his merit. He is not given this rich status. He is not being given rich status from his birth. It is through his merit that he is achieving his richness. And caste, your surname is already is given to you when you came to the society. Okay, so this is ascribed and achieved. And there is one more concept in this unit. Just a sec. Ideal type of bureaucracy, which already I spoke about. Ideal type of bureaucracy, whose characteristics are the division of labor, written rules and regulations, hierarchical structure, then impersonal relationships, etc., etc. And last but not the least, the last concept of this unit, that is personal traits and qualities. What is it? It means personal traits and qualities are the characteristics or attributes or personality traits which defines an individual. It encompasses both positive and negative aspects of their character. Okay, so this is in unit 9. Okay, let's now talk about in the unit 10, that is power, the functional perspective. Where is it? I'm not getting. Just a sec. Oh my god. This is very important unit. Uh, Power, the functional perspective. Here, we will be talking about Max Weber and Talcott Parsons, whose contributions uh, on the nature of power and its legitimacy. So, the word power, first, what is the meaning of power? Power has its roots from the Latin word potes or pos, or which signifies to be also. So the word has been used in several sense in daily life, like horsepower that measures the energy, then power loom as distinct from the hand loom, then conveying the idea of mechanical energy. So power, when we talk about the word power and its possible links with the function, are seen through three the contributions of three writers. Who are they? uh, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Rousseau. Okay, so first we will be talking about Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes, his contribution. So basically he had raised the question about the nature of man. So he talked about the primitive persons who were equal to one another. So the difference, the difference between man and man is not so considerable as that one man can claim himself any benefit to which another man may not pretend, as well as he, if any two men desire the same thing, which they cannot both enjoy, they become enemies or they endeavor to destroy or subdue one another. So, in the nature of man, we find three causes of quarrel. One is competition, then diffidence and glory. So, Hobbes, he has been considered as a thinker for raising the problem of order in society, though other thinkers disagree with the depiction of human nature and the solution. However, for it may be clarified that power is seen to fulfill the function of maintaining order. Then comes John Locke, who agrees on the equality of man, and he confesses a right on him to punish the wrongdoer. Such liberty could be misused if the victim is to be the judge also. So hence there a need for the state that with common constant with common consent will perform this role and the advocacy of the civil government. So next is Rousseau. uh, He's the most famous of the three writers, and he had tremendous influence on the ideas leading to the French revolutions. So, the views of Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau, these were examined in critical detail by political philosophers, but the main reasons for referring to the three uh, written are the following. That is, the first one is the need for having central authority to maintain order, that was emphasized, and in this sense state was associated with a function. And the second is unequal distribution of power needs an explanation and a justification. So um, uh, there these two questions will be dealt with in relation to the individuals and the state itself. Then let's talk about Max Weber and Talcott Parsons. The two questions which I already repeated, these questions mentioned earlier, those regarding the nature of power and its legitimacy. These were centrally considered by the German classical sociologist Max Weber and commented often, among others, by Talcott Parsons, who advanced the view that the state represented the agency for realizing the collective goals of a social system. So it is to these writers that we now turn our attention to Max Weber, the organization of social life. So Max Weber, he identified here the three types of legitimate authority or power based on different forms of rationality or rules, which I already talked about. These are the traditional authority, charismatic authority, and the rational legal authority. So he viewed the different aspects of life like economy, polity, and even music according to the way they expressed rationality. So he distinguished profit based on plunder and illegal practices from rational capitalism. Likewise, the performance of music in orchestra with a number of instruments tuning together drew his attention. His discussion on power is related to the use of legitimate power or authority. Okay. So these types of authority, uh, 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 these are based on a system of rules, laws. I'm talking about the rational legal one, and the procedures which are rationally applied. Okay. So while talking about Talcott Parsons, his sociological theory. In his sociological theory, he talks about power as viewed as a necessary condition for maintaining a society and enabling it to achieve collective goals. It acts as a resource for social action and stability. So he says, Talcott Parsons, that power is a societal resource. What is it? For Parsons, power is not as a zero-sum game, which where one person's gain is another's loss. ଜଣେ ମଣିଷ ଯଦି କିଛି ଜିତୁଛି another ମଣିଷ ହାରୁଛି ସେଇଟା power is not as a zero sum game, but as a resource that can be used to achieve collective goals. Through power, we will achieve our collective goals. That's what Parsons says. And Parsons, being a functionalist, he also says maintenance of social order. So he argues that power is essential for maintaining social order and stability, as it allows society to regulate behavior, resolve conflicts, and ensure the smooth functioning of the institutions. I already spoke yesterday that Talcott Parsons, he belongs to a functionalist school of thought, and functionalist school of thought, basically they will be talking about the functions of the society, how the different institutions they play their important role in our social structure or in our society. Why? Because to maintain stability and order in our society, how the institutions play their roles. Okay, so Parsons concepts are here the functional prerequisites, where he's identifying four functional prerequisites for any successful social system. That's what I already explained in the very last class also, and today also I have already told about the AGIL model. F stands for adaptation, uh, which is adapting to the environment, and G stands for goal attainment, that means achieving goal, and I stands for maintain integration, or that means maintaining social cohesion, and the last one L stands for latency, that is maintaining cultural patterns. And in his social action theory, Parsons yeah, he emphasized that the importance of social structure, cultural norms, and values in shaping human behavior and social interaction. Okay, so these were about Parsons' view. Let's now talk about the basis for functional analysis which was led by then Durkheim and Malinowski and Radcliffe Brown. Okay, so Malinowski and Radcliffe Brown, they had studied the primitive societies, and Durkheim had used his this approach along with the two others, the evolutionary and explanatory, in terms of comparative approach. So Merton, he extends the ideas to modern societies, and the phrases he has coined, these are function and dysfunction. Manifest function, latent function, which I already told you in the last class. Manifest function and latent function. Manifest is the intended consequences and latent function is the unintended consequences. And related this to the study of anomy, in which he discussed the interrelations of goals and means. And Parsons, it was associated with the study of social system. So let's now talk about percentage over. Okay, this is in page number 133. This is polity as a subsystem. Okay, polity as a subsystem. First of all, what is subsystem? A subsystem is a smaller self-contained system within a larger system. Okay. Um, in the context of a society, subsystem refers to how various components like politics, economy, and culture interact and work together to maintain the system's overall stability and function. So, what are the functions of a polity subsystem? Polity subsystem ର functions କ'ଣ? First is legitimacy. ତା ଅର୍ଥ କ'ଣ? The polity provides legitimacy to the rules and institutions in a society. It establishes who has the right to govern and the mechanisms for ensuring political power is respected. Okay. The second function of polity subsystem is the regulation and governance. This subsystem is responsible for enabling laws, establishing order, and resolving conflicts. It also provides frameworks for governance, policy making, and institutional checks and balances. And the third function of polity subsystem is the power and authority. So it determines how power is distributed within a society and what resources or policies are prioritized and how leaders are selected. So when thinking of polity as a subsystem, it is understood as an essential and interdependent part of society that helps regulate governance, manage power dynamics, and maintain social order. So it is interconnected with other subsystems and plays a key role in the overall functioning of the society. Okay, so this was about unit 10, and next is this is unit 11. It is power and institutions. Power, social power. Power is a universal phenomenon in human society and social relationships. So it is possessed by both individuals and social groups. The basic common element in all social relationships, politics, and economics. So here social power is generally experienced in an unbalanced situation, and these power imbalances are the root cause of the most of the social problems. So power that has gained prominence in recent days is the idea of power as a simple quantitative phenomenon. So here we look at what is this, the writings of Hobbes, Locke, and Locke, their approach. The approach that looks at the effects of power as generally identified by reference to counterfactual conditions. So here we will look at, or in other words, when we say about this approach, the approach that holds the power in the hands of others prevents its victims from doing what they otherwise would have attained, or even from thinking what they otherwise would have thought. So here, if we talk about Foucault's analysis of power, it's a good representative uh, of this approach. The second conception of power is often implicit rather than explicit. The concept is central to much modern social and political thought today. So, power has also been viewed in various ways. So, the differences of these terms, let's talk about power and prestige, which I have already spoke about in detail, that what is power and prestige in previous unit, and also what is power and dominance, then power and influence. uh, then what are the let's now talk about what are the instruments of power. So in sociology, instruments of power refers to the various means and mechanisms through which power is exerted and maintained within social structure, institutions and relationships. Okay, so there are three main institutions or traits that accord the right to use of power. So, in other words, there are three instruments for wielding or enforcing of power. They are coercive or condign, then compensatory, and then conditioned power. So, these three instruments. Okay. What are the types of instruments of power? The first is coercive power. Coercive means coercion or compulsion. It involves the ability to punish or threaten others to gain compliance. Examples include the use of force or fines or other forms of negative sanctions. Then, while talking about the compensatory power, it means it attains submission from others by offering affirmative action in the form of rewards to the individual or group who submits to the coercion. In economic terms, compensation means, uh, say for example, in rural areas, it could be in various forms such as payments in kind or cash for services rendered, the right to work a plot of land or sharing the product of the landlord's fields. So this is compensatory power. And the last is the conditioned power. Conditioned power means conditioned power in contrast to condign or compensatory power, which is visible and objective. So conditioned power is subjective. In this case, neither those exercising the power nor those who are subject to it need not necessarily be aware of its exertion. So this kind of power is achieved by changing the attitude and belief of the individual or the group. So in this situation, a person or group accepts the will of another or others because they feel that the initiative taken seems to be right by way of persuasion, education, social commitment, or promises. So when we compare condign and compensatory power, the condign power rooted in force or punishment, it aims to achieve submission through the threat or application of negative consequences. And when we talk about compensatory power, it seeks submission by offering rewards or benefits. Okay, let's now talk about what are the sources of power. First is legitimate power. You already know what is legitimate power. Then exert power. Exert power means that is derived from specialized knowledge, skills or expertise from others value. Say for example, a doctor's power based on medical knowledge. Okay, then referent power, that means it is based on the charisma or the admiration. Like for example, a celebrity who influences consumer choices or a leader who inspires the followers. Then reward power. Reward power is the ability to offer positive reinforcement or the rewards. For example, a manager who offers promotions or bonuses to motivate his employees. Okay. Then it is coercive power. Coercive already the ability to punish or threaten others. For example, a police officer's power to enforce laws. Okay. Then organizational structure and resources. It is, say, for example, a large corporation with significant financial resources or a well organized political party. So, let's now talk about the different sources of power, which is according to different thinkers. What they say, for example, Bidstad, he is talking about the sources of power. What are these sources? First is numbers of people, then social organization, then resources. And under the resources, what will come? Money, property, prestige, knowledge, competence, etc. And according to Mann, What are the resources? Ideological, economic, military, and political relationship. Then Tumin, he opines that there are five sources of power, that is role-specific authority, goods and services, skills and abilities, and personal qualities. And the last is coercive power. Likewise, Galbraith, he talks about the three sources of power, that is property, personality, and organization. So overall, in general, the sources of power include personality, numbers of people, resources or property, then skills, abilities and knowledge, media, and coercive force, etc., organization, etc. So let's now talk about the context of power, which is according to Tumin, the political affairs, then institutional patterning, then to ensure life chances, then personal relations, etc. So this was the idea. Let's now talk about the last unit. It is power and knowledge. This is also very important. Power and knowledge, we are running short of time. So first is, I'll briefly talk about power and knowledge. So first of all, power, as you all know the meaning of power, it is the ability to impose one's will. So the understanding and analysis of power has been critical to sociological thought. So one of the prominent figure, he is Michael Foucault, or Foucault. He began, just a sec, he began his intellectual pursuit in philosophy, and in his writings, Madness and Civilization, The Birth of Clinic, and he initiated his lifelong interest in the relationship between power and knowledge. So, the main influences on Foucault's thought were German philosophers Friedrich Nietzsche and Martin Heidegger. Okay, so Nietzsche contended the truth that knowledge and power are inextricably associated. So he maintains that human behavior is motivated by a will to power, and the traditional values had lost their power over society. So Heidegger, he criticized what he called our current technological understanding of being. So, when we talk about Foucault's thought, it explored the shifting patterns of power within a society, and the ways in which power relates to the self. So, I'll be talking about the concept of discourse here. Uh, yes, power, knowledge, and discourse. It's in page number 148. Okay. The concept of discourse is central to his ideas. He describes discourses as the ways of identifying truth and knowledge at historically specific moments, thus providing set of rules that define realities. So discourse is a core concept in Michel Foucault's work. It represents more than just language or communication, but a system of knowledge practices that shape our understanding of reality and power relations. So this discourse, it is not only language, but how we understand the reality and the power relations. So, in according to Michael Foucault, discourse is a system of knowledge and power. This is the first one. It means discourse is a structured field of possible statements, a system of knowledge and practices which defines what can be said, what can be thought, and what can be done within a particular context. And when we talk about discourses which shapes reality, that means discourses it shapes our reality by determining what is considered true, what is considered normal, or what is considered acceptable. So, power, knowledge, and discourse are deeply interconnected concepts in the work of Michel Foucault. Um, his analysis of these ideas is foundational for understanding how societal norms, institutions, and practices it operate to regulate individuals and groups. So his exploration of power moves away from traditional hierarchical understandings, and it offers a more nuanced view, which basically highlights how power is diffused and how it is operated at every level of society. Okay. So Next, while talking about power, Foucault he redefines power, uh, moving beyond the traditional view of it as something held by individuals or groups and used to dominate others. So, rather than power being centralized in specific institutions or leaders, what Foucault argues is power is diffused throughout societies and present in various forms and mechanisms across different societal structures. Okay, so while talking about knowledge, what Foucault says, and also last thing which I forgot to mention, uh, when you talk about that power challenges traditional theories that focus on power as something that comes from a specific identifiable source. So instead, Foucault's approach suggests us that power is everywhere. It operates through complex networks of influence and controls that function through social norms, institutions, and systems of knowledge. Okay, so next is knowledge. While talking about knowledge, Foucault intrinsically he linked to power knowledge. He challenges the conventional understanding of knowledge as something which is objective, neutral, and detached from societal or social influences. Rather, knowledge is always produced within specific social and historical contexts, and it is shaped by the power relations that exist within those contexts. So, knowledge it doesn't simply represent a neutral reality. It does not simply represent a neutral reality, but it is knowledge is a tool for shaping that reality. So, what is considered true or rational is not universal, but it is defined by those who have the power to determine and legitimize. So, as a result, what happens? As a result, knowledge serves to uphold and reinforce existing power structures by establishing what is considered acceptable or legitimate. And the production of knowledge is inherently political. Let's say, for instance, the medical, legal, and educational systems all produce knowledge that categorize people, that defines norms, and that structures social interactions. So, this knowledge legitimizes certain behaviors, actions, and policies while marginalizing or criminalizing others. Okay, this is what knowledge is. And last but not the least, discourse. It is the means by which knowledge and power are communicated and enforced. So Foucault defines discourse not only as language but also as a system of practices, norms, and institutions which regulate knowledge and shapes the society. And discourses or discourse which encompass all forms of expression like language, behavior, rituals, and institutions which communicate knowledge and truth claims. So it establishes what can be said, who can speak, and what can be known. So through discourse, social norms are created and maintained as it structures the way individuals think, the way individuals act, and the way individuals understand themselves and the others. So, discourse plays a central role in Foucault's analysis because it is through discourse that power and knowledge are institutionalized and legitimized. So, while talking about the interrelationship between power, knowledge, and discourse, Foucault says power is exercised through the production and dissemination of knowledge, and knowledge is always embedded in power relations, and discourse is the third is the discourse, which is the mechanism through which knowledge is communicated and power is exercised. So this is the interrelationship between power, knowledge, and discourse. So this interconnectedness means that power is not just something imposed from above, but it is embedded in the very practices and structures that define the society. And knowledge doesn't simply reflect an objective reality, but it is shaped by those who have the power to define it. Okay, and in his archaeology, this is in page number 149. Foucault's archaeological writings. This is archaeology of knowledge. Archaeology of knowledge. Okay. Just a sec. Archaeology, yes, 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 yes. Michel Foucault's archaeological writings. Okay, this refers to his early works, including Madness and Civilization, The Birth of the Clinic, and The Order of Things. So, which employed a method of analyzing how knowledge and discourses are shaped by historical and social context. So, basically, in his the first is the archaeology of knowledge, which he developed a method he called that is the archaeology of knowledge. This is basically to analyze how knowledge is produced and how it is shaped by historical and social conditions. So, in his Madness and Civilization, a history of insanity in the age of reason, it's mentioned somewhere else. You please find out. Um, Here, in the Madness and Civilization, he explores the historical treatment of madness and how it has been perceived and managed across different periods. So, in the second, the birth of the clinic and archaeology of medical perception. Here, Foucault examines the emergence of the modern medical uh, what say medical gaze, G-A-Z-E. Foucault examines the emergence of the modern medical gaze and how it shaped the understanding of the human body and the illness. And the third is the third is the order of things and archaeology of the human sciences. These are his major works. First is Madness and Civilization, second is The Birth of the Clinic, and the third is The Order of Things. In his The Order of Things, he analyzes the historical development of the human sciences, like biology, economics, and linguistics, and how they can be how they have been framed by specific epistemic assumptions. So, Foucault's archaeology of knowledge, it sought to uncover the rules or conditions which shape what can be said and what can be known about a particular subject rather than focusing on the content of knowledge itself. So, his emphasis on discourse, he emphasizes the role of discourse in shaping knowledge and power relations, and he argued that discourse is not simply a reflection of reality, but rather a tool that constructs and maintains power structures. Okay, so while his works are considered as archaeological, he later shifted his focus to the genealogy of power. It explores how power relations are exercised and resisted in specific contexts. Here it is in page number 150 and the Foucault's genealogical writings. Okay, has shifted his focus to the genealogy of power. He explores how power relations are exercised and registered in specific contexts. So, first example, the discursive formation. What is it? Here he argued that every historical period has underlying epistemic assumptions or ways of thinking or which determine what is truth and what is acceptable discourse about a subject. And the second example, the non-discursive practices, where Foucault argued that discourse doesn't underlie all cultural forms. The forms such as art and music are not discursive. So, his genealogical writings, which is influenced by Nietzsche, are a form of historical analysis which seeks to uncover the power dynamics and discourses. Please underline the seeks to uncover the power dynamics and discourses which shape our understanding of the concepts and practices rather than focusing on traditional linear narratives of progress or origins. So, in his genealogical writings, what are the characteristics here? First, in his genealogical writings, the first characteristics is uh, mm, power and knowledge. So, genealogy investigates how power operates through knowledge, discourses, and institutions rather than focusing solely on overt forms of coercion. Okay, this is the first one. The second is it focuses on the present. Genealogy is not about finding origins or true past, but rather it is about understanding the present by examining the historical conditions and the power relations which shape it. And the third is uh, disrupting universal narratives. The third is disrupting universal narratives, where Foucault challenges the idea of universal, timeless truths, and instead he explores how knowledge and power are intertwined and historically specific. And the last is histories of the present, where Foucault's genealogical writings are often described as histories of the present. It aims to understand how contemporary practices and institutions came to be and how they maintain their power. Okay, and his concept of genealogy is rooted in Nietzsche's critique of traditional history and his focus on the role of power in shaping values and knowledge. So these are Foucault's example of genealogies, like the history of sexuality, madness and civilization, the archaeology of knowledge, then discipline and punish. These are the examples of his genealogies. And uh, one more thing, somewhere it is mentioned. Uh, oh yes, it is in page number 151. Um, Repressive hypothesis, page number 151, the very first line. Foucault critiques the repressive hypothesis by stating blah blah blah. So this is Foucault critiques the repressive hypothesis. It posits that society historically repressed sexuality, arguing instead that sexual discourse and practices are shaped by a regime of power, knowledge, pleasure, rather than solely by repression. So it means first the repressive hypothesis. This theory it is often associated with psychoanalytic thinking. It suggests that Victorian society, for example, they are actively repressed sexuality, viewing it as something to be suppressed or controlled. And Foucault challenges this view. What he argues is that the idea of a simple overarching repression is too simplistic and it doesn't accurately reflect the complex relationship between power, knowledge, and sexuality. And while talking about the regime of power, knowledge, pleasure, what he proposes is that sexuality is not simply repressed, but it is instead actively shaped and organized by a system where power, knowledge, and pleasure are intertwined. So, this regime of power, knowledge, pleasure, this regime operates through discourses, norms, and practices which construct and regulate sexuality rather than simply suppressing it. So here mainly Foucault is he is focusing on repression. He examines how power operates through the production and circulation of knowledge about sexuality and how this knowledge in turn shapes practices and desires. Let's say, for example, where he analyzes how medical, religious, and legal discourses have shaped understandings of sexuality and how these discourses have been used to normalize certain practices and marginalize others. So here, what are the important concepts here? The discourse, which I already spoke about, that it emphasizes he emphasizes the role of language and social practices in shaping our understanding and experience of sexuality. And what is normalization? It is that power operates through the normalization of certain behaviors and the pathological pathologization of others. And when talking about the biopower, that Foucault introduces the concept of biopower. That means the ways in which power operates through the management of populations and bodies, including through the control of sexuality. So, lastly, Foucault, he revolutionized the study of power and knowledge by demonstrating their intertwined nature, moving beyond traditional views of power as solely repressive and highlighting their dynamic co-investment in shaping social structures and individual experiences. So, out of his major contributions, he challenges the traditional views of power. What is it? In the sense, it is in the sense he challenged the idea that power is simply a tool of repression wielded by a few, instead arguing that it is pervasive and it operates through discourse, knowledge, and institutions. And while talking about power or knowledge as a dynamic relationship, so here in the very last, Foucault emphasized the reciprocal relationship between power and knowledge, and he argues that power is not only exercised through knowledge but also produces and shapes it. Power produces knowledge and it shapes knowledge. So, this is about power and knowledge, which is according to Foucault. Okay. So, I hope this is clear to all of you. Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have any doubt, you can ask me or we can connect it later. Uh, if you find this book, The Archaeology of Knowledge, please go through it, which is by Michel Foucault, The Archaeology of Knowledge. And these are the books maybe it's available online, you can check. And this is very important. And the unit is the most important, unit 8. Unit 8, please. So I took a lot of time in Unit 8, which is very important because it deals with the theorization of power, uh, the different thinkers, how they have contributed on power. Okay, so if anything I left, you can ask me. I'll provide you the PPTs. I'll prepare. See, I don't have lot of time, so I couldn't at least. These are almost 5 units, so I'm not getting that much time to prepare for the all the 5 units. Still, I'll give you. So tomorrow we will discuss the block 4 theory of capitalism.
Okay, ma'am.
Just a sec. Oh yes. Uh, those who have access, please go through one book. The book is by George Ritger. George Ritger. Okay, this is a very famous book by him to understand the concepts, sociological concepts, or the thinkers' viewpoint. Basically, he has focused on the thinkers.
Ma'am, name of the book, please.
George, it's on thinker. Something you just type George Ritger, something sociological thought or something like that. I'll update in the group the book's name.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, and also Raymond Aron. Yes, yes. This is in page number 113. The references in the page unit 8. Raymond Aron. This is social class, political class, and ruling class in class status and power. Okay, this is one of the article which is written in Ruth and Benedict's book. Yes, Lipset Benedict's. Okay, so just find it out from the online. If you are not getting, then ask me. I'll provide it to you. I'll get the access from the university and I'll send it to you. Okay, these are the
Okay.
important things you need to study. Okay, so if you have any doubt or regarding the concept of power, or was it
Yes,
okay? Okay. I think the recording is still going on. So let's wait for 1 or 2 more minutes because yesterday I left soon. So like 2 minutes earlier. That's what they said. And others, why don't you say something? No one is responding here in the group. They are the silent listeners. Neither they ask anything. Okay, you can leave. You can leave now.
thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome. So I'll catch you tomorrow with block 4. Okay.
Okay,
Children's
ma'am. Thank you,
capitalism.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Bye.